All right. Good morning, everybody. Appreciate you for joining. Sorry for being a little bit late. I was just getting done with my journaling for this meeting in the morning huddle. You don't have to have your camera on, but I do like to see your faces bright and early. Helps me get a little bit more humanized just so I'm not looking at a bunch of letters. So appreciate you, Derek. Appreciate you, everyone. But how we feeling this week? We feel like the energy's coming. We're getting confident. We got our rest that we needed. Awesome. Okay. So today, guys, we got a lot of things going on this week. What I mean by that is we're starting SG 360. It looks like Kevin is going to start prospecting with you guys. He's going to record his calls, and then we're going to put those into the playbook. That way you can see what he's doing on these calls. I think I'm going to get a few calls in during my downtime. That way you can see how I run my process. It's going to be cool that you'll be able to see how I run my calls and how he runs his calls. Now, that all being said, I'm going to get into the CRM today, and I'm going to assign each of you your personal phone number. It's a company paid phone number. That way you'll only be able to see texts and calls when it's to that phone number. Okay. Right now, we're all working with about 5 numbers. So I'm going to get in there with my CRM specialist, and we're going to assign each of you your own phone number. That way, you'll only see those conversations. And when they call, you won't get your phone ring anymore. Okay. Now, when I go into the playbook, I'm going to add more videos for the training for the new reps. These are going to be videos around SG360. They're also going to be videos from past trainings that I think would be influential to the new training progress. Okay. So if you already are done with the playbook or you already went through it, you don't need to go back through it and watch these videos, but they will be good for you to take into consideration. That way you can understand the review, can understand more of the process. That'll help you get more wins through the gate. Now, I'm going to change our second book reading. I'm going to change that to a call review and role play. Instead of doing 2 book readings today, I think that we have pretty much everything in place as far as reading, as far as accountability, as far as check-ins. What we need to add is some live action. A little bit of role playing and call review will help get that under our belt a bit more. So I'm changing the second book reading to a call review and role play. Now I'm also changing the time from it from being 3 p.m. to 2 p.m. That way we can get things done a lot sooner. That'll allow you to get more sales calls, spend more time with your family, or do what you need at the middle part of the day. Okay. Today is our first CRM class. We're going to run that at 4 p.m. If you're a new recruit or you want to do SG360, you're going to want to get into that CRM class because that's where you're going to get handed your CRM logins if you haven't yet. You're going to be able to get into the CRM. You're going to set up your scheduling. You're going to show you how to do the prospecting again. I'm also going to drop the prospecting video inside of Slack as well as inside the playbook. That way, if you ever need a review, you'll be able to go back and watch that CRM video for a good tutorial. Now, when we get our new reps in here, I'm talking about Christian, Rob, everyone else who isn't plugged into the CRM yet. You're going to want to get into that 4 p.m. class. If you can't, then go back and watch the recording because I'm going to already have your CRM login sent to you. Now, when we go back through everything, right, it's easy to think, well, I already completed training. I don't need to do anything else. But let me tell you about this, okay? And this is going to be a pretty short call. I want to give you time to do everything you need to do to get started for the day. When I look at salespeople, when I look at what we're doing to make progress, not just as a company, but individually, because it doesn't make sense for just one person to win or just a few to win or just me or just Kevin. It doesn't really make sense. And that's not why I started this company. So I'm going to tell you about a speech, and it's going to be a pretty short one. It's an analogy, and this is called the fly analogy. Now, how I came up with the fly analogy was I was sitting in the car with my little brother, and he was telling me he doesn't know really what he wants to do with his life, his career. He's telling me about this idea, he's telling me about that idea. He's doing this, doing music, doing that with business, trying to figure out, how does he make his mark on this world? And this is where I came up with the fly analogy. So when you hear this message, just from hearing this message right now and sticking through to the end, you're going to be a different person by the end of this speech. Now, when you hear this, you've taken another step towards your success, and you need to keep making this commitment daily. If you need to go back and listen to this. Now, I want to start out by saying when I went to college, I didn't finish. I dropped out to start a business, and everything I'm about to tell you could be written off just because of that. Don't let what I'm about to say persuade you into thinking negatively. Before I start, I want to tell you that my goal of this analogy was to motivate those who are stuck in a rut. Maybe that's you. Maybe that's some of us on this call. Now, my goal when I sat down to write this on November 3rd, 2024, was to help break a few limiting beliefs that you may have. And it was to also break my own limiting beliefs because I believe, again, I'm a college dropout, and don't take my word as gospel or as rhetoric, but I believe that on the other side of our limiting beliefs is our dreams, our goals, our desires. And how do I know this? What divine ability do I have? What foresight was I given that you may not have? Well, you know the answer to that. I have none of that. There is no special ability or special power. Yet, there's those who have written books, opened businesses, and blew up online and in business success. Maybe not in that exact order, but nonetheless, they still did it without college degrees, without high school diplomas. And those are people that we see today. Think about Cardone. Think about Brad Lee. Think about Hormozy, right? They all did it. And they all did it because it's really unbelievable when you look at their success. Now, the connection between a fly, a housefly, and our human belief, I'd like for you to think of happiness. What does that look like for you? Truly being happy. What does that look like for you? Now, think of your content. Think about right now. What would make you content right now? And when you think about your happiness, what you truly want as happiness, and what you need to be content right now in this moment, do you have two different pictures there? Now, when you think of happiness and comfortability, does food, parties, clubs, money, and I think you know what I'm getting at, instant gratification, is that what comes into your happiness and comfortability? And when you think of the word contentment, you are okay with whatever circumstances are now, knowing you won't be in this state forever. Now switch gears and think about chasing happiness 24/7, chasing the need to feel good your entire life. What does that do for you? Think about TV, games, conversations, nature, events, etc. What does that do for you? Now imagine whenever you start to feel an imbalance or pain or any negative feeling you can associate negativity with. Imagine bouncing from here to there, seeking comfort, pleasure, safety. And whenever negative emotions arise, you bounce again and again and again and again. What happens? Well, what happens is from a macro perspective, meaning based on the overall picture, when you look at what they've accomplished, the greats, Cardone, Miner, Brad Lee, everyone that's a great person right now. When you look at it and you say, well, I don't think I could ever achieve that. That's overwhelming. And the big pictures rarely don't elicit feelings to the viewer of some sort, meaning when you look up to them, it's easy to say, I can never do that. I'll never be there. I don't think I have those abilities. But when you take it down to a micro perspective, meaning you chunk it down and you look at the actions daily of what they're doing, the day-to-day tasks, the rituals, the habits, and eventually your brain and your mind acclimate or they evolve. When we break it down, it's now more believable, more achievable in our reality of what we believe we can master, right? What you believe and what you see as potential. You'll be able to master that with the consistency and it turns into a habit. And when you put it like that, once the habits and the right skills are being learned continually, giants of the world aren't so giant after all. It makes the leaders of industry look like creatures of habit. And it further cements start now and your life will forever change. And it gives you this sense of, well, is Brian speaking hoopla? If so, well, I think for me, it's time for me to tell you more about the analogy. Now, my little brother was excited to start a new job with me. Obviously, I'm only about 2 years older than him. And so I don't take kindly when he tells others, oh, my brother's old. And as we're sitting there in the car, he's talking about it. He wants to do this. He wants to do a sales role. He wants to build a business. And it's a full commission job. So he's not used to betting on himself, being in fast food and only taking a jab at sales through door to door, which didn't last too long. He already was forming an idea, and it wasn't a really good one. I could see he was nervous. He was scared, more scared than I like to see my little brother. And I tell him about the fly analogy. And the fly analogy, when I look at him, he's starting to cry, and tears are coming down his face. And I'm trying not to cry, because once it starts, there's no stopping it. And he expresses, still crying, Brian, I'm scared. I don't know if I'm good enough. And they won't accept me. People will judge me. And the number one thing that stood out, he said, I just don't believe in myself. And that hurts. So you see, we have the ability, almost innate ability, to react to our situations in the way of a housefly. At the beginning of my entrance, I gave you hope. At least I tried to anyway. Through this entire session, I've been reframing your thinking from that of a limiting belief to one of unlimited potential. And if you don't feel it yet, and the negative feeling is still inside of you, you need that. I need that. The world needs that. We're so drawn to comfortability, to easygoingness, to glamour, to fame, and to riches, we forget about what others sacrificed. And they've done it for us, our parents, our grandparents, our family. They've sacrificed so much for us to be here. They shaped the world for us, and we aren't meriting that responsibly. Now, I'm getting to the end pretty soon, but let me try one last reframing technique and see if this convinces you. As I sat on my car with my little brother, he's now in fast food. This is the morning or day before I wrote this. Us humans, we give up so easily. We throw in the towel too soon and stack the cards against ourselves. We neglect our dreams for the comfort of a television and admire our bed more than we admire growing our heads. We'd much rather pass the responsibilities to someone younger or older who we feel can get it done without me. We'd much rather enjoy nights out partying and meeting connections and drinking our worries away, that we forget there is still work to be done at home. The workload didn't lighten, so why are we celebrating early? And then when you fail, when you get rejected, when you lose the sale, the job, the relationship, the career, etc., we throw our hands up and exclaim to the universe, "Woe is me! Woe is me!" And that's simply not the case. I could already hear, feel, and sense the people in the room against this analogy. Just remember, I'm a dropout from college. I don't actually know how a housefly is or their anatomy, but I watched The Fly about 3 times, and that's a movie. If you ever watched The Fly, it's an old movie about a guy. He changes teleportation and DNA with a housefly. And if you've ever watched that, before I wrote this, I used the main character for this theory. Recall in the movie when he was at the restaurant, after he spilled the salt or the sugar and put it back together with the fly that got inside of his teleporter. Last second, putting the two together on a molecular level. And while that's the guise of the movie, the big thing to note is his immediate change in habits of processing from talking like uh, a car going at max terminal velocity to digesting copious amounts of sugar on a daily basis. Aside from the physical attributes, which don't stay for long either, he starts to change into a fly. We see a man scientist, someone of impeccable nature, morph into the cusp of a housefly that can't manage their emotions, that can't focus on a subject that's uncomfortable amounts of periods of time with the attention of studying it with deep thought. And at the point I was watching, it hit me. How is this any different from ourselves? How is this any different from what we see and how we act on a daily basis? And I said, all right, I'm going to reverse engineer it. And he asked, how? When you think about it, what animalia or insect are you at this point? What creature of mystical being has the ability to seek comfort their entire life? And whenever they get a feeling, they're off somewhere else, looking for that drug, looking for that comfortability. And they get it. My gosh, when they get it, does anyone have an answer of what animal? And I gave you a hint, it's an insect, right? The housefly. It has a bazillion eyes, hair on its legs and body, and 2 little wings that take it everywhere. If you leave some sugar or fruit out on your windowsill or on a desk, guess what's going to come there in about the next 30 minutes to a couple of hours? It's the housefly. And if you seek comfort and happiness on a 24/7 scale, your thinking could be comparable to that of what you find in your kitchen or your son's bedroom, or when they don't clean it for 2 to 3 weeks. What do you see in there? You see houseflies. And a housefly is not what we want to be. And so the fly analogy is meant to show you a fly doesn't live for long because it seeks comfortability on a 24/7 basis, looking for sugar, looking for water, and they never have the ability to be uncomfortable for too long, and that's why they die. And so think about yourself right now. The way I'm doing things, the way my actions are, the way I study, the way I learn, even when bad times are on me. Am I reacting like a housefly? or do I lean into that? And now the greats of the industries, the leaders of those industries, they do the exact opposite. They lean into discomfort. They seek out discomfort. And now those two things is what separates us from a housefly. And it's in our DNA. It's the reason why we've gotten so far as humans, is because we know the difference between seeking out comfortability and seeking out discomfort. And so if you can look at your life, compare it to that of a housefly. Don't look up, don't look down, but look, how does a housefly react? And am I doing those same actions? And for a lot of us, maybe we've been reacting like houseflies. And whenever you get down, look at your life and say, am I acting like a fly? And that will take you further than any speech will. Just looking at your life and reframing it from limited potential to unlimited possibility. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and put a few more limiting beliefs inside of the playbook. And some of us may have these limiting beliefs right now. Well, I'm going to put more analogies in there in video format for you to listen to every day. And the more you listen to these analogies, the more you get your brain in tune with them, the more you're going to release those limiting beliefs. And that's going to help you a ton on these calls. Because the difference between a limited belief and unlimited potential is you accepting your circumstances and being content with what's going on. Because you won't be there forever. And your time is coming. The good days are coming. You just need to hang in there and not act like a housefly. So I think that sums up our meeting, guys. I don't want to take any more of your morning. I appreciate you for waiting. I'm going to take a few minutes, get some water, and then I'm going to be inside of the coaches meeting. If you need anything, reach out to me, reach out to Rose, reach out to Kevin, and we'll take it from there. So I appreciate you all. I hope you have a good morning, a good week. Let's go out and rock it. And today's training will be centered on NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming. Now, if you don't know what that is, maybe you can do just a simple web-based search on NLP, get just the basis of what it's called, what it means, what it does. And that should be enough to, when I talk in the training, I'm going to give you about 8 to 10 reframing techniques, which I just used in this analogy, a few of them. So I'm going to give you a few of those reframing techniques, and that's going to help you show people that what they have is a limited belief. And if that's really the true concern, how do we overcome that? This is going to help you a ton on your calls. So appreciate your time, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.